The Walt Disney World resorts will all be very different when Disney decides to open when it is safe to do so, but what exactly will be different when you book a resort stay at Walt Disney World for those Phase 1 and maybe Phase 2 reopenings during this global situation? Today I wanted to share a few of my thoughts about what may be different when you go and stay at your favorite resort hotel on Disney property to go to Walt Disney World during this time frame. Keep in mind, this is not forever, this is just for the short term as we eventually make our way towards that reopening. Now I want to note that these ideas are coming from me. This is not confirmed by Disney, these are not even rumors, this is just coming from my imagination, and I wanted to share a few ideas with you. First up, Disney World soap. For many of us, we've seen the conversion from those single-use plastic soaps to the ones that are mounted to your shower walls. But now after this global situation, it's very likely we will see the return of some other form of single-use soap. Of course, there's no guarantee of this because Disney may just decide to clean the ones that are mounted to the walls. It's a real possibility, but I think it would be much better if Disney took this opportunity to transition back to some other single-use material that they can use for guests to enjoy when they take home that is not plastic, something better for the environment that keeps that shampoo or conditioner or lotion in the bottle and the guests can take it home if they have extra. It makes a lot of sense, something Disney can really work on. It would help with the entire global situation. In addition, I think it's extremely likely that we will not see a standard turn-down service like we've seen before at the resorts. In the past, you had the opportunity to opt out of the turn-down service, and you could actually get a gift card for doing so. It was something that you would, no mousekeeping would come to your room, you'd get a gift card, and then at the end of your stay, then they would clean all of your room for the next set of guests. I imagine that Disney's going to do something very similar, but probably cut out the gift card part. It's probably going to be mousekeeping does not come to your room except after you leave, after the entire vacation is over, and then they get it ready for the next set of guests. Not only for your safety, but also for the safety of mousekeeping. In addition, it's very safe to assume that the coffee machines in all the resort rooms will be gone. There will not be any coffee machines because not only will Disney want to make sure that everyone's safe, but it's actually part of the reopening plan for all of Florida. Resort hotels, other hotels cannot have coffee machines, so that's a thing they're gonna have to change. In addition, I would imagine that most of the resort TVs will not include the remote anymore. Somehow, maybe you'll be able to control it from your phone or some other way, but I think that remote is something else that may be kind of discontinued at the resorts in the future. We'll see. Now on to the resort pools, and this brings up a very interesting question because for many of us, the pools are a big part of that resort stay. If the pools don't open, will Disney be kind of substituting it with something else? Tough to know. Really is. Maybe we could do a water park instead. Tough to know. But for Disney to kind of keep the social distancing and all these other methods in place, especially for Phase 1 when they reopen, opening the pools I think is less than likely. There are just too many moving parts when it comes to the pools. The lifeguards are moving around, kids are splashing and playing. It's just, there are too many question marks. I think Disney will keep those resort pools closed until we have a better grasp on the situation. Now on to those resort refillable mugs, and I believe the metal ones and the plastic ones will likely return when the resorts open, but it may be refilled in a different way. At some locations like the Contemporary Resort, I can envision a cast member standing by to assist you or to make sure that not too many people are lining up at the same station, or perhaps making sure that kids don't have an issue like touching different things, or perhaps they'll actually wipe the system down every time someone uses it. Now that's an easy enough solution at the Contemporary Resort or Riviera Resort. They can just kind of post a cast member there. It's just a 1 or 2 stations they'll wipe down between guests, no problem. But at a spot like, for example, Pop Century, there are so many different refill stations, it would be extremely difficult to monitor every single guest. That's where a big question mark comes into play. I can imagine 2 different possibilities for a location like Pop Century. Perhaps they actually shut down most of the machines and only limit it to 1 or 2 so that guests can, be monitored by those cast members to make sure that everyone is following all of those rules. Or perhaps they're going to just kind of put tape lines down and put more cast members out to make sure that all of the stations have that social distancing. Now I know what you might be thinking, Michael, wouldn't it be easier for you to hand your mug to a cast member for them to fill it up? Yes, but then the cast member's hand has to touch your mug. You see the issue? So they're trying to think about all of those small things. No matter what they do, no matter what happens, patrons, they're going to find a way so that you can get your resort drink or other drinks that you need while you're there. I envision that when the resorts open at Walt Disney World, the dining will open as well, almost at the same time. It will likely be a limited capacity, maybe 20%, 30%, 50%, whatever it is, some limited capacity, but I think those restaurants will open just as the resorts do, just because that's a big part of the resort. I think that limited capacity will likely be for every restaurant at all the resorts, not just table service, counter service as well, maybe 50%, or maybe markings where it says table unavailable, please sit at a different table. That's going to be important as well. Now, in terms of transportation, it's absolutely critical that it is running at those resorts, because that's a big perk at staying at one of the Disney resorts. You have transportation, you don't have to bring your own car. They're going to have to be running all forms of transportation, but it's going to be a very unique way of getting around Disney, because most of them, if not all of them, will be limited to a certain capacity. If you've been to Disney many times before, you know that the buses at Walt Disney World can get really crowded really fast. A lot of guests want to go to Magic Kingdom or Epcot or wherever it is. They're probably going to say that is not allowed anymore, maybe a guest every other seat. So they may have to borrow some buses or run more buses more frequently, limited capacity on the buses and everywhere else, monorails, gondolas, boats. All these locations are going to have to think about how many people should be on board. Fortunately, before the situation began, check-in and check-out was already pretty seamless. You didn't really have to go to the front desk for either part of your vacation, the start or the finish, but I would imagine that Disney's actually going to make this mandatory for guests staying during this opening period of time. So you cannot go to the front desk for check-in and check-out. It would only be for something urgent that's totally separate to go to the front desk. Another thought that comes to my mind are those common areas at the resorts. Imagine the Polynesian Village Resort. Inside, they're going to have to kind of separate where those chairs are, wipe them down constantly, and even outside by the beach, more of those chairs, they're going to have to separate them. It's an important part of it, and they're going to do that at every single resort, I have no doubt. That separation of the common area seating and the cleaning is an unbelievably monumental job, but I have no doubt Disney's going to think about all of this in advance and be ready for us when they open. Now, these are a few of the big changes that I expect we will see at those resorts when they reopen, but rest assured, this is not going to be forever. This is the short term. As we get back to it, slowly but surely, we will make progress and we'll get there together. Those are my thoughts. I'd love to hear from you. Do you think resort refillable mugs will be around when they reopen, or maybe not? Maybe not all transportation? Let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for being a part of the magic with me today. Until next time, have a magical day.